Tov Tes Seif Ches. Interesting stuff. So we said yesterday there are two ways of making Eruv Techumim. One is that you actually go to the place and you say physically you're there at Ben Hashmoshes and you say this is going to be the place where I'm Koina Shvisa, or you just put some food there and that is that becomes your Mokum Shvisa. So with regards of the second way of doing it, of putting food there, then you can make a shliach for that. That's what we spoke about yesterday, right? So that's what this sif is going on. If you want to, you can send the food by way of a shliach. And you say, with this eruv, I will be allowed to carry. This will be my shvisa, and I'll be able to carry. You can do that, no problem, so long as the shliach that you appoint is not a cheresh, sheta, or cotton, or someone who doesn't believe in the eruv. And if you go ahead and do use a shliach who is a cheresh, sheta, or cotton, it doesn't work. Says Mishnah Berurah. These people they just haven't got requisite das, and therefore they're not strong enough to be koine shvisa. Even if you're watching from afar, that this cheresh, sheta, or cotton did place it in that place. That is, even if you're watching from afar, it's not going to work. Masha'in came be'erev chatzeres as opposed to erev chatzeres, that it would work. To sham ha'ikahu mashe mekabitz mikulam validei misavin yacha. There you don't really need das. You just need someone to sort of technically gather up pieces, bits of flour, bread, or whatever from every single participant. Lachein mahani gamkin anadei cotton. Therefore, even a child doing it would work. Okay, so too you can't use somebody who's Eina Moide Be'eruv, says Mishbur Membeis, could go in Oved Gilulim, a non-Jewish person, Sadoikim, or V'chiai Gavna. To Shemele Anichim Sham, because maybe they won't do it. Vafilim Yamud Meirachik, and even if they stand from afar, even if this Oved Kechavim stands from afar, it won't help. To Shemele Anichim L'Shem Eruv, maybe he didn't do it with the correct intention, i.e. L'Shem Eruv, maybe just put them down. Now, normally a cheresh that the Chazal refer to is Eina Shemeh ve'Eina Medaber, and therefore is lacking das, certainly in the times of Chazal. But here we're going to prevent even a cheresh who is Shemea ve'Eina Medaber, because not being able to speak here is fatal. The Ba'almu pekech l'chol dvarav, normally a Shemea ve'Eina Medaber, he can hear but he can't speak, is considered like a pekech. Mistaber the hochalemani. Presumably, it's not going to work over here. To hocha halebo in the shim beferish to bezeh ha'eruv yemutu lepein halech. He's got to say the words. I.e., he's got to say, with this eruv, this person is the person who sent me is able to walk. V'ha'amir ma'akev, and not saying that is ma'akev. V'komeshu kusavnu ba'islam zayin. We said yesterday in Islam Zayin, v'hu eini yochel ledaber. So therefore, here the cheresh who is shemeh, who can even be a shemeh medaber, is not going to help. Eina Eruv v'nisha al tchum basis. So what happens if he sets a shliach with either a cheresh, sheta, or cotton, or kichavim, or someone who doesn't believe in the Eruv? Then we'll have to go back to the default and nishar al tchum beisay v'chanal b'simen tov ches seif dalet. Okay, vayte in the mechaber, third line from the bottom. V'im omer la'acher lekablo hem imenu. And if he says to somebody else, "V'im mekabel it," or sholcha al yedei echod me'elu, v'afilu sholcha ala pilo ala kaif. Or even if he sends it with an elephant or a monkey, somebody obviously is lacking das. Now this is interesting. So he makes a shliach, and the shliach is a pikeach, is a good, a good shliach, and that shliach then uses somebody who we just disqualified, right? Even a pill or kaif or something like that. But he saw from a distance that it was done. That's going to be a good eruv. Why? The chazaka shliach is shlichusay. There is a chazaka shliach is shlichusay, and that would make it effective. V'chein rabim shenishtat v'erev Techumim v'rotz l'shliach eruvim biyadach. So too with the eruv of Techumim, which is done through many people, and they all want to send it through one person. Ha'elam mishalchin, again, you'll be able to do it in that way. Okay.
So Techumim should be the same thing. If you see him.
Yeah, but here we are going on the premise that my initial shliach in this latter case is a kosher shliach, and therefore we can evoke the principle of chazaka ish shlichusay. Says the Mishnah Berurah Mem Hey, lekable memenu v'lanicha l'shem Eruv. So you give it to the Shliach and you say, please, so the Shliach then goes and gives it to another person, and he sees it from a distance. Because if he doesn't watch from a distance, then we don't know that it was actually done. That's going to work. So long as it was he promised that he's going to do it. We only say it if he promised him that it was done. When do we say it? Dafka when there's when the whole thing is a drabonon. That's when we rely on the chazaka. We don't assume that we only for an issa deraisa we're not somech on a chazaka lahakel only lahachme. So, for example, for a shliach for kiddushin, we will be somech on a deraisa lahachme to be choishish that maybe it was a good shlichus. Even for a deraisa where there was some impediment, some barrier for the mishalech, and he thought he did it, could go in hacha like in our situation, so then we can be soymech. But if we know that he did the shlichus rak, but maybe he deviated from what he was told to do, then we for sure say we can rely on the chazaka that he did not deviate and he did what he was meant to do. And the shliach has got to say at the moment the Eruv is placed there, again, you've got to make that declaration for it to work. Okay, good. Tess. One or many say to somebody, say Orev Oleinu, can you please go out and make this Eruv for us? And he went and did it. Whatever he happened to choose, whichever direction. So imagine, I say to a fellow, do me a favor, make me an Eruv Techumim. And he goes and does it. And I don't specify which direction. And he does it in whichever direction he wants to. I am bound by that. Okay? Says the Mishnah Berurah, Shari lo yichtu l'ruach. Valkein amrinan d'stam nichlu be'ezer ruach sheyarev. And therefore the understanding is that I'm happy with whichever direction he happens to choose. Even if he doesn't tell me until after Shabbos comes in, that is still going to be considered an effective Eruv. Because you're just informing me what you happen to choose. There's no breira over here. You're just informing me that I actually put the Eruv 2,000 amas to the east, and therefore that's your kivun. So at the moment that works, and later on you're just being megala milsi, you're just telling me what you did. Omnom nira, however, it does appear, if the shliach knew that my intention was to put it in a certain direction, even though I didn't tell me explicitly, it's not going to help if he did it in the other way, even if he wants to go there. So in other words, what we're saying in this sif is this: if I were to tell the shliach, go make an Eruv Techumim for me, and I didn't specify a direction, then it works. And whichever direction he does it in, it's fine. If he happens to know that I wanted it in that particular direction, but I just didn't express that to him, and then he does it in another direction, then it's not going to work.
So if he didn't express what direction?
If I didn't express... Yes, I say to you, listen, Shauli, do me a favor, I need to do my Eruv Techumim for me. And you say with pleasure. So then I'm bound whichever direction you do it in. Because I didn't... bound to whatever... Yeah, so whatever you chose, whichever direction you chose, that works, and therefore I'm bound by that. Because I didn't specify, and therefore the assumption is that I'm happy to do whichever way you happen to choose. But if you knew that I dafka wanted it there because there's a certain Talmid Chacham coming and I want to get to hear his drasha or whatever the example may be, and you know that, then if you choose in a different direction, then it doesn't work. Okay, let's just do one more. Yud. If someone says to his friend, Orev olai b'tzmarim, what food can you use for the Eruv? We said it was Shtei Sudas, right? So I say to you, please make an Eruv Techumim for me with tamarim, with dates. Va'arev olav begrogros, and use figs instead, or the other way around. Begrogros for arev olav b'tamarim. Or amaloi hanach eruv b'migdal. Put my eruv in a tower or in a cupboard or something. V'yenichu b'shevach, and you put it in a dovecot. B'shevach v'yenichu b'migdal, or the other way around. B'bayis v'yenichu b'aliyah, b'aliyah v'yenichu b'bayis. Either way, you're not following instructions. You don't listen to what I was told, what you were told. Eina eruv. That is not considered a good eruv. Avol. Im amaloi arev olai stam. But if you just say to him, just make me an eruv, v'arev olav, and he does, bein begrogros, bein b'tzmarim, bein b'bayis, bein b'aliyah, hariz eruv. Then whatever he does would be effective, because I didn't specify, and therefore whatever you decided to do would work. Says the Mishnah Berurah b'tzmarim nun gimel, ve'ein chiluk bein eruv mishal mishalech or mishal shliach. It doesn't make a difference whose food it was. B'chol gavni have a kapeda ve'ein chol hashlichus. Because if I said I wanted A and you did B, that's not going to work. Migdal v'nicha b'shevach, v'afilu shneim krevim shneim rechekim. Even if both the migdal and the shevach are pretty close by, or both equally distant, Domrin dekan daitel anuch b'Shabbos, because I wanted you to put it there. That's my desired makom shvisa. V'lo b'makom acher. Or eina eruv t'sheshina midas meshalchei v'okash lichusei. He changed from what was said, and therefore is oika the shlichus. The question is, what if it's only a small change? It's if I tell you I want it in place A and you do it in place B, or use food A and use food B, I can understand no good. But if you look at 34, he says, for example, I say to you, be ma'arev with wine, v'erev b'yayin mevushal, and you choose yayin mevushal, which is not like secondary wine. That's okay, that works. Also, for example, if I send you to get, make it with white bread, and you go to the bakery, there's no white bread left, and you use brown bread. Again, that would be okay. Like that's bichlal mashem mevakesh shlech, and that's not called a shina. That would work. It's like the Gemara in Hanizokin in the Gemara with the Kamtza Gemaras. We'll do it coming up. So if you take small changes, that would be okay. All right, say that.